Welcome to Unstoppable from Washington. I'm Brittany LaVecchia.
And I'm Ashley Robinson.
Coming up on today's show, it's the beginning, middle, and end for sports in America, and our team is here to take you through it. Our panel of Mark, Rami, and Brick have the latest on the start of the NBA season, and we'll be joined by Spencer Sachs to give their mid-season review of the NFL. Spencer will also be joined later in the show by Ethan Jaw to preview the upcoming Yankees-Dodgers World Series.
Plus, Rami and Dan will have top plays. But first, it's time for the rundown. Men's and women's cross country headed to the University of Virginia for the Panorama Farms Invitational last weekend. The women, led by first-year Hadley Mahoney, secured a sixth-place finish, beating A10 opponents Davidson and Richmond. The men, led by junior Mike Bolke, finished 10th, taking down Richmond and Duquesne. Both teams will travel to Richmond for a chance at the A10 championship title in 2 weeks.
Women's volleyball headed to Dayton, Ohio last week for a 2-game matchup. The Revs fell in 3 straight sets in both matches, bringing them 15-7 overall in conference play. The team has not been able to secure a victory against the #1 ranked Flyers since 2014. Next, the Revs will head to Richmond to take on VCU in another 2-game matchup with less than a month left until the A10 championships in Dayton.
Women's soccer faced a tough 4-0 loss against Davidson earlier in the week, being held to just 1 shot on the day and 0 shots on goal. On Thursday, the Revolutionaries took on VCU in their final home match of the season.
The men's water polo team is on a 4-game winning streak after a close call against Johns Hopkins last week. The Revolutionaries scored a 14-12 victory with goalkeeper Luca Castanoria making an impressive 14 saves to secure the win. The team will stay in the DMV this weekend with a match against Navy in Arlington and their first home match of the season against Bucknell.
Men's soccer fell 3-1 against Fordham last week after Fordham rallied to score twice in the final minutes of the game. First-year forward Louis Crofts managed to score in the 60th minute for GW, assisted by midfielder Will Turner. The Revs are now 3-10-2 overall and 1-4-1 in conference play. They will battle the St. Louis Billikens tonight at 8 p.m.
The G-Dub swim and dive team kicked off their season with a strong start at a quad meet versus UNCW, Delaware, and William & Mary. The team swept the meet with 3 Revolutionaries earning 3 of 4 A10 weekly awards. Junior Ava Toplowski was picked for the A10 Women's Performer of the Week, while both Natalie Sens and Say Stratton were selected as the Women's and Men's Rookies of the Week. Senior Barbara Schall was also announced to be the A10's pick for the prestigious NCAA Woman of the Year award. The team had a month-long break but will return next week with a dual meet at Navy. In other exciting GW news, GW Athletics Hall of Famer and basketball alum Jonquel Jones has won the 2024 WNBA title and Finals MVP award after leading the New York Liberty to their first ever championship last week, which is great news for GW basketball as we head into the season. Both men's and women's basketball season will kick off next week in a doubleheader at the Charles E. Smith Center. The women's team will play against Delaware at 5 p.m., followed by men's against Mercyhurst at 8. Men's basketball is looking for a redemption after a 12-game losing streak last season. The returning members include star players Jacoy Hutchinson, Trey Autry, and Darren Buchanan Jr., who was named the preseason All-Conference second team earlier last week. There will also be some new players to keep an eye out for this season, including 4 transfers. Next up on Unstoppable, our NBA breakdown after this.
From the GW TV studios in Washington, D.C., this is Capital Crossfire.
We're back with our NBA panel. I'm Mark Ashkar, joined by Rami and Brick. So guys, we just got started with the NBA season. What are our thoughts between some off-season moves and Yeah, some early contenders. Rami, let's start with you first.
Sure, absolutely. Obviously, everybody's going to be looking at the Celtics, but my contender this year is no doubt the Oklahoma City Thunder. They look spectacular. This young team, this young core built around SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, they look absolutely stellar. They've signed some key pieces over the offseason with Alex Caruso and Hartenstein coming over as well from the Knicks, and they look absolutely dominant. They dominated the Nuggets in opening night for them, and I'm sure
15-point win, yeah.
15-point win, excuse me. Yeah, it's impressive to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. I mean, they're kind of just like a friend group. They're all so young, and see their interviews, they're all together. I mean, Brick, how about same question to you?
For my contender, I'd have to go with the Knicks this year.
Really?
I mean, they're looking really good.
Did you watch the opening night? I don't know if you missed that at all. Did you see what the Celtics did to them?
It was a tough night, but
Okay.
you know what? That's one game. A lot more to play.
It is a marathon, but I'd have to disagree. For me, I'm going to go grab this right here. The Boston Celtics back-to-back. I say we run it back.
I'm going to hit the hat
We're
off you.
clearly the best team. And we were missing Porzingis, too. The Jays doing well. Derek White, Drew Holiday. I'm going to leave this here.
Yeah.
To do with it.
Yeah. They're not going back. I know they're upset about the Olympics. I know, but it's going to the West. It's either the Thunder, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets could do it, the Bucks could do it. I know they're in the East, but they could do it. There's so many other teams that could take out these Celtics, and I'm sorry.
I'd have to disagree. I would say my take is I think the Celtics might be like a top 10 team of all time. Like they're up there with like the KD Warriors.
Wow.
I mean, just look at the pure dominance. We whooped the Knicks. I mean, Zach Brody was probably mad, but and Brick, I don't know how you can defend it. Let's move on. So off-season moves we have pretty big with the Knicks. Cat and McCall Bridges. I don't know if you guys seen his form. It's kind of broken. CP3 to the Spurs. We got your thoughts on that?
I mean, I love him with Wemby. Really impressive night. Disappointed a little bit. I was hoping to see a bit more out of him, but I mean, for a start, it's not bad.
I mean,
Like you said, long season.
Yeah,
long
I mean,
season.
for sure. Like Chris Paul, like he loves to help out players. Like you see the improvement he does, and hopefully we can get Wemby going a little bit. So obviously a big star. And how about Paul George to the Sixers?
Well, I mean, did you see his knee? Or,
Yeah.
That's rough. I think that the Sixers are definitely going to struggle. They already have Embiid playing every other game or taking off games, or I still don't really know what that's going to look like for him. But
Do you
he's
see
already
he's under
limited.
investigation?
Yeah, he's also under investigation right now too. So
Oh, Joel.
the Sixers, this is a dumpster fire happening with their franchise right now. I don't really know what's going on. And then you have Tyrese Maxey shooting 10 for 31 in opening night. I don't really know where this team goes from here. Paul George, if he comes back, great. I'm hoping for the best, obviously, for his recovery. He's a great leader, great player, but I mean, for right now, he's just as useless as Embiid. He's the best, as Charles Barkley says, the best ability is availability. So
Yes, I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Moving on, I kind of want to talk about early awards. So, Brick, early MVP pick, rapid fire.
It's a tough one this early in the season.
Give us a name.
I hate to say Tatum, but
I like
he
that.
looked real good.
How about you?
Man, I'm gonna go with a crazy take. I'm gonna say Anthony Edwards has an absolute tear of a year.
Really?
I think that this Timberwolves team is gonna have something to prove after the trade. I think they have more depth with DiVincenzo. I know they lose Cat, which is a huge loss, but I mean they get DiVincenzo. Open up the floor a little bit, and he's developing as such a young star and a leader of that team.
How about Depoy?
Defensive Player of the Year. Give me Anthony Davis.
I like
He
that.
was really upset in that first interview. They asked him something about his stats, and he simply replied, Defensive Player of the Year stuff. That's what I want to see out of a Depoy candidate. He has a fire this season.
Yeah, I mean, Lakers is definitely be an interesting team this year with like LeBron and Bronny. If you got the catch to see, that's just awesome to see.
NBA history.
Yeah.
First ever father-son duo. They looked fantastic. Well, LeBron looked fantastic. I think that Bronny.
Yeah.
will
Give him
develop.
some time,
Yeah,
of course.
it's his first game.
Another rapid fire question, Brick. So, how about most improved player? I know putting you on the spot
Yeah.
here, but anyone you got in mind?
I see Tyrese Maxey making another jump this year. I think
Okay.
last year he made a huge improvement on his game.
He did
and
go
I
10
think
for 31 the first game, so I'm just putting it out there.
He's the only difference maker we had on the court. I mean,
Okay.
in all honesty, Embiid's out, we really don't have anybody else to take those shots.
So last thing I kind of want to talk about is kind of dark horse teams in the East and West. I mean, for me personally, I think the Magic would go crazy. I think Paulo Banchero is my most improved player, just my opinion. I think he's going to take that leap. And the Magic, that young squad, I think they have a potential to do some upsets. I mean, how about any dark horse, East or West?
I think
very deep this year. The NBA, I think, we go like 10 teams, East or West down. Like, it's going to be hard to even make the play-in, or like there's going to be some teams who miss the play-in. I think deserve to be in that spot.
I think it'll be competitive this year for sure. I think the Atlanta Hawks are going to be my dark horse team. They dealt with a lot of injuries last year. They have a good roster. They got Trae Young. They have an exciting
number 1 overall pick as well.
Franchise. Yeah, absolutely, and they got a number 1 overall pick too. So I'm excited to see what they can do this year.
Rick, how about you? Last thing?
I'd have to go with the Grizzlies.
Really? I like that.
I really like Ja Morant. His first game back, he was playing really well. Zach Edey did foul out in his debut, but I think they could make a run.
Really? Okay.
I like him this year.
I do like that. So, well, that's a lot of season left to go, and there will be surprises. We'll be back with Spencer Sachs for our NFL breakdown after this.
And welcome back. The NFL season is approaching the halfway mark, and we still have a lot of questions to be answered. Joining me now on our super panel is Mark, Rami, and Brick to break it down. There have been some major surprises that we have seen through the first 7 weeks. Tell me, Mark, what's the biggest one this year?
I would say just in general, just the injuries we've seen in the NFL. Obviously, we've seen a lot of trades recently with DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs, like Amari Cooper to the Bills. I think just the constant shifting that's going on in the NFL right now, I think, is a big surprise for me.
I mean, I think, we're seeing a very interesting time period with wide receiver trades. I mean, we're only seeing 3 as of now, and there's so many receivers on bad teams. Cooper Kupp was thrown around. I mean,
Yeah.
Brick, tell me, do you think that there is a need for receivers right now, or do you think that there is just offenses are changing once again?
I think there's been a slight shift. I think it is a bit circumstantial. I don't think it's going to continue the way it's been this week, the entire season. I don't think Cooper Kupp will leave. I think, he's been a pretty solid receiver. Puka Nacua is starting to overshadow him a little bit, but I don't see him leaving anytime soon.
Rami, what do you think?
I think that the way that the game's played today, passing is such more an effective method of moving the ball. I do think that Cooper Kupp actually will be leaving. I think he could go to the Green Bay Packers. I think that any teams that want to make that extra push to the Super Bowl and are looking to add one more piece to their offense, Cooper Kupp is certainly that guy. Yeah, he won't be the most cost-effective player, but he's proven himself over the years that he is a reliable target. He's a playmaker, and I think that he would make a good offense into a great offense.
I mean, do you think, though, that at the same point in time, he might be that Adam Thielen kind of guy where he comes into a team, after having a stellar career at one and just, kind of flatlines, or?
I would give Adam Thielen some slack. He came into a Panther system that wasn't exactly developed, wasn't the greatest.
Quarterback problem there.
A bit of a quarterback situation in Carolina. So I would give Thielen some slack. I think wherever Cooper Kupp goes, he wouldn't go if it wasn't for the opportunity to win this season. I think that they got to keep in mind that he is getting older. I know he's still a young receiver, but towards the back half of everybody's career, you're ring chasing, right? So he's definitely going to go somewhere that's a contender.
So tell me, panel, where do we think he's going to go? If he gets traded, right, which is still a big if, where is he going to go? I mean, my money is on the Vikings. I think that if you put him on the Vikings, he would make an outstanding offense even better.
With Jefferson, too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
And Darnold being a great QB. I mean, obviously last night was a fluke, but I mean, this team is kind of built for a very interesting NFC North. I mean, you have a very stacked Packers team. You have a very stacked Lions team. The Bears are starting to come together.
Caleb Williams, yeah.
Caleb Williams is looking great. Exactly. And, the Vikings are just shocking the world right now. I mean, is this the best division? Is this the one that the Super Bowl team is going to come out of?
I honestly do think so. I mean, just top to bottom, I mean, the last place is like 4-2. And they're all going to eventually play each other. So I think they're going to have that competitive games before the playoffs, which you obviously need, like playing in a joke division, obviously not good come playoff time. So I think one of those will will be in the Super Bowl at least.
For sure. Also thinking about just shocking teams to start off the year, Bengals are still coming together. Still, the Steelers are having a great season. As we start looking to the playoffs, tell me, who's a contender, who's a pretender?
Well, for a contender-pretender, we have a tier list of folks that we've actually put together.
We'll go show you now.
Yeah? Show you our tier list real quick.
Looking flyer on me.
Thank you.
So we're just doing like a little rapid-fire tier list. I think San Francisco pretenders. I mean, like half their team is injured.
I would agree. I would agree with you. They're dealing with a lot of injuries on the offensive and defensive side. For my lovely Seahawks, as much as I want to put them in contenders, we'll see.
I mean, it's a very weak NFC West this year.
The NFC West is wide open.
It's a
absolutely
very
wide open.
weak season. I mean, like you said with the Niners, I mean, they're a mess of a team right now health-wise. You really don't think the Seahawks could do it?
I think that they could do it. It's just our defense needs a little bit more bolstering, specifically with linebackers. I know we just traded for Ernest Jones, which we'll see how that does. But for right now, I'm going to throw them in pretenders. I just think there's just a lot more Giants in the NFC. Or not the Giants, but a lot more, sorry. A lot more better teams in the NFC. The Lions, the Packers, the Vikings, all those teams. So
Bears, we're going pretenders. I think they're too young. I mean, Caleb Williams, too young, so I think it's too early for them.
It's his first year. Give them time. They're in a good spot, though. I'm going to take the Houston Texans, and I am going to throw them in contenders. I know they lost to the Packers. I know that they've been doing on the offensive side of the ball, but this roster is absolutely stacked. Nico Collins will come back in, I think, 2 weeks, so they'll be all right.
Bills, bang, contenders. I mean,
That's a terrible take.
what? Josh, have you seen Josh Allen? I don't even think
Our
he's done
token
a
Jets
pick.
fan, everybody.
That's a crazy
The
take.
Jets were the Jets.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
I'm abandoning
ship.
I don't
2 and 5.
disagree.
Abandoned
I don't
ship.
disagree at all.
Trade
Abandoned
Aaron
ship.
Rodgers. It's looking terrible for you guys. Moving on.
The Bills being an
Okay.
actual
Devontae
contender?
Adams isn't.
I don't know about that.
Moving on.
The Bills are a contender. You don't believe in Josh Allen?
I think Josh Allen is great. I don't think that team's great.
Wow. After the way they ran the ball with James Cook is
He's
crazy.
a Jets fan. His take doesn't
Jets
matter.
fan.
Okay.
Russell Wilson and the Steelers look fantastic, and more importantly, their defense might be one of the best in the NFL. I'm throwing them in contenders. I know this is a crazy thing to do with the quarterback change in the middle of the season, but that quarterback room is great. They can win with either one of them, and Russell Wilson showed that, he had a slow start, but he could still throw that rock. He had that moon ball. It looked vintage. So
I would have to agree with that. I think the Steelers look great and potentially dark horse Super Bowl team, just in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Ravens, I think, are another contender. I mean, Lamar Jackson would be my MVP favorite so far.
they've won 5 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an easy one. I don't have to talk too much about the Ravens.
I'll go ahead and throw the Saints. I'm going to do something crazy. We're abandoning ship with the Saints. I think they just got to look to next season. I know that they had a great start with Derek Carr, but they have had so many injuries that they've had to deal with. I don't know what the deal is with Spencer Rattler. I don't know what they want to do with the future of the franchise. The best thing that I've seen out of the Saints in the last few weeks was that Drew Brees halftime chant, 1, 2, win for you. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they started 2-0. I mean, the fall from grace for the Saints.
Oh, my
I mean, it's
goodness.
unbelievable.
Fell through.
Buccaneers,
multiple floors.
unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, another abandoned ship. Their 2 best wide receivers just went down in the same game. I think it's crazy. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. I mean, I was rooting for them too with Baker Mayfield.
In the last
his
minute
comeback
of the
was
game.
So
great.
who comes out from the South then? I mean, you took out probably the 2 most likely contenders. I mean, do you the Panthers
the
aren't going to
Saints
go
are
there?
Honestly,
I mean,
probably the Falcons were not on here, but I think they have a chance to win that division. I think they've looked better than with Kirk Cousins leading the way.
More than a chance. I know they just got beat by Seattle, but they look insane on the offensive side of the ball. They put up 500 yards against the Bucs in prime time. Kirk looks really good. That defense, I know they struggle with pass rush, but they have a good secondary with A.J. Terrell and good safeties out there. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm going to do what everybody needs to do, and I am throwing them, not abandoned ship, throwing them in pretenders.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm saying. I think they look awesome, okay? I think they're going to make a deep playoff run, but this is Super Bowl contenders we're talking about here. I don't know if this is a Super Bowl offense with Sam Darnold. You saw how they played against the Rams last night. They struggled against a so-so Rams team that doesn't have a good defense. I think that Sam Darnold will do okay in the playoffs, but I think some NFC team called the Detroit Lions are going to take care of business once again.
Yeah, I mean, moving on, I think Alex Ashley's Green Bay Packers, as much as I hate to say it, I think they are a contender. I think they're missing that one piece come trade deadline, and once they get that one piece, offense, defense, we'll see what it is. I think that they can make a run in that NFC, that stacked NFC North.
I fully agree with you. I fully agree. I'm going to take our beloved Dallas Cowboys, America's team.
Abandoned ship. That team's
We're
abandoned ship.
Abandoned ship.
This,
That's a great one.
can we get the camera on me real quick? Jerry Jones. Retire. Take a sabbatical, PTO, whatever you got to do. Go play golf. Let somebody else run the team. Stop giving fan tours of the locker room. And for the love of Christ, sign somebody before the trade deadline. Do something. This is horrible. The fans are asking you, will you win a game? And you respond with, don't talk to me that way in the media. What?
Yeah, I mean, the whole Derrick Henry saga, they should have signed Derrick Henry, in my opinion. Now he's killing on the Ravens.
Who is Rico Dowdle?
I haven't been
You know what I
fantasy.
mean? Exactly.
Tingus Pingus.
Chargers, I'm just putting pretenders. They have no weapons. Justin Herbert's going to do Justin Herbert.
Not even
thing.
an abandoned ship. You think they're just pretenders?
Pretenders, yeah. I mean, I don't think abandoned ship. They're okay.
They're okay.
Yeah, they're okay.
I fully agree. The Commanders, I know they look great with Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota, if we want to be technical, but they are pretenders. It's just not. It's just not their year. That's my thing. I think that their franchise, they're doing well with a new owner. They're in a good spot. Jaden Daniels, good future. Terry McLaurin looks scary as always. However, it's just not this year for the Commanders. The defense isn't where I'd like it to be for a Super Bowl defense.
I'm more just shocked because you're putting the Steelers as an actual Super Bowl contender and the Commanders not. You know, that's.
I think it's just a
ridiculous.
little too early. Jaden Daniels, like, we don't know about that injury, but it's great that the hometown team, the Commanders, actually have a quarterback for the future to look forward to. I think it's great for the city of Washington, especially considering the sports right now in Washington. The only bright side, I think, is the Commanders. Lions, I think, easy contender for the Lions. My opinion, the favorite coming out of the NFC. The Lions, I mean, obviously, even with the Hutchinson injury, like, that offense looks great, defense looks good as well. I think easy contenders for me.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. I think the Lions are the only team in the NFC who would beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Ooh.
That's it.
Okay.
So, with that being said, I'm going to throw the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well,
I
do you
know
think
they're
that
undefeated.
changes though? You know, back up to the Lions a little bit. Do you think that changes with Hutchinson's injury?
Yes, obviously, and I
That's a
think that
huge piece
sets
to
them
try to
back.
replace.
Obviously, it's a huge piece. I think they're going to get somebody before the trade deadline. I know they're looking at Max Crosby. If they pull that off, that is their
Raiders
ticket
are
to the
selling.
Super Bowl.
They're even below abandoned ship.
It's a
The
yard
Raiders
sale.
are.
It's a yard sale in Vegas.
Yeah, final, we have Brick's Eagles. Where do we put the Eagles? I am putting the Eagles in pretenders.
I love that take.
So, with the Eagles, I mean, I just think, in my opinion, they're kind of a dumpster fire right now. Nick Sirianni beefing with the fans. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't really believe in them come playoff time.
He shaved his head, too.
Yeah, I mean, they're crashing out. The Eagles are crashing out. But this is our tier list, so.
I mean, Brick, like, do you think that the Eagles are pretenders or contenders? I mean, you know, this is a team that has pieces and a dumpster fire of an organization.
This is the best our offense has looked in 10, 15 years.
I'll give you that. Saquon looks good, but I don't know. I
Saquon
feel
looks
like when
really good.
push comes to shove, they're gonna sell.
You also have to take into account when the Eagles have and don't have A.J. Brown, this offense can't operate. If you take A.J. Brown out of the picture, Hurts' QBR goes down nearly half. It's insane.
It's incredibly one-dimensional. Like for what that offense can look like, it is crazy of how
They have
one-dimensional it
studs
is without
everywhere.
receivers.
And
I
they have
think-
an offensive line that dominated. I know they lost Jason Kelsey, but they have an offensive line that dominated the NFL last season. And they can't run the ball as well with Saquon Barkley than they did the year before.
There are a lot of coaching struggles in Philly right now. Our offensive coordinator has been replaced heavily in the last 3 years. Defensive coordinator as well. Sirianni might be on his way out. We'll see.
What do the Eagles have to do to get to a Super Bowl?
That's a tough question because we just had a big ego win against the Giants. Doesn't really mean anything, but it
It's a
makes
bye
me
week.
feel better as a fan. I think really we just need to up the offensive play calling.
Sure. Well, that's our tier list.
No, it's a great list. You know, a lot to look at there. I mean, I definitely don't agree with the Commanders. I think they're very much contenders.
I don't know, man. It's all about the injury. I feel like just they were so bad in previous years, just a big jump. I think there's always a transition year coming from that being bad to kind of being that contender. I think
Experience
it's a
matters.
transition year, but
Oh,
I think
I mean,
in the future, definitely.
I mean, I totally agree. It's experience matters. I mean, but you have to look at look at the Texans last year, right? What an incredible season that team was. But if you go back a year prior, that team was awful. I mean, the reason why they had C.J. Stroud is they were the number 2 overall team. That team sucked. And, like, I definitely think, like, Commanders could do a very similar trajectory, Come in, 2nd overall pick, draft a guy, he becomes the guy, and that team goes absolutely crazy, which is what I think we're seeing right now. And I think the Commanders could do a playoff run.
I don't disagree with you, but I thought we're doing contenders for a ring here.
They are contenders for a ring, though.
You think the Commanders are contenders for a ring?
That's
There's
when
playoff contenders and the Super Bowl contenders. There's a big difference between that.
Yes, but what I'm talking about is
difference.
when you look at, like, coming to the playoffs, you get absolutely crazy things happening, right? I mean, the Bills in the 90s went 4 times and lost all 4. You never know what could happen. Brick, tell me, we have a lot of awards coming up, a lot of guys who start off hot. Tell me, what are guys that are sticking out to you?
Sure.
Quick rapid fire awards with Brick. So first, I think Lamar Jackson MVP, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had 5 passing touchdowns the other day. And yeah, I think for me, Josh Allen, I think is a close second, but I think for me, MVP Lamar Jackson.
Perfect passer rating, too.
Yeah. Offense rookie of the year, I think this basically comes down to Jaden Daniels' health. I think Caleb Williams plus 165, looking pretty good there. He's doing well with the Bears, I think winning record. So I think it's going to come down to Jaden Daniels. In my opinion, if Jaden Daniels plays the whole way, he has a good chance of it, but I think it's going to come down to the end of it between those two.
Absolutely. For the Defensive Player of the Year, I mean, this is the only good part of the Giants right now. 9 sacks, 58% pass rush win, 7 tackles for losses. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best defensive players in the league right now, and I think he has a shot.
Is he a trade candidate?
Sorry?
Is he a trade candidate?
I don't see the Giants letting him go, after Saquon especially.
Sure.
Interesting.
All right, so for Comeback Player of the Year, this is a layup. I mean, Sam Darnold,
Yeah, I don't know why the odds
incredible.
are like that.
Incredible this year. 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's been, I mean, just out of the blue. Absurd. 5-1 record, 5-2 now. But
yeah. Still look very good, the Vikings.
still look very good. It was a tough loss, but I'm sure he'll bounce back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of guys with awards, a lot of guys who are absolutely stepping up on teams that suck. When we return, Ohtani, Judge, only one can win it all. We'll be right back.
Team after an abysmal year with the Flyers. Andrei Svechnikov makes his return this season.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It is that time of the year, Oktoberfest, Halloween, and the World Gosh Darn Series. We are talking about some absolute dogs, and this season all comes down to Dodgers and the Yankees. Ethan, what are you looking forward to in this series?
Well, I'd say there's a lot of stuff to look forward to, and I'd say that this is definitely going to be the most popular World Series to watch in years. I mean, it may not be what America wants, but it's definitely what the world wants, and it is called the World Series after all,
It is
right?
indeed.
So we have an impressive matchup right now. We have the Dodgers versus the Yankees. Everyone's been waiting to see this inevitably happen. It's one of these times. I mean, we've had teams like Houston come up. We've had teams, small little teams like Atlanta come up. But we haven't seen this big market matchup in a long time. So it's definitely going to have a lot of hype to it.
I mean, you know, we're talking about the game's most popular players. We got Ohtani, we got Judge, we got Mookie Betts, we got Stanton, we got Juan Soto. I mean, you know, these teams are stacked, and you know, I think like it's going to be probably one of the best World Series talent-wise that we've seen in a while. I mean, do you think that this is going to be a series that we're going to be talking about 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road as like this was a pivotal World Series, the same way we talk about the Cubs winning the World Series in 7 games?
I think this actually will stand the test of time very well, because I think in other World Series, you can think back to last year's series, it was a case with Atlanta just trying to be an incredible team on their own right, and also like Houston being there, just working. There were a lot of good teams that have had success as a World Series contender, but it's one and done. And as you know, the sport of baseball is very variable. I mean, like a team can be good one year and terrible the next.
So when looking at, you know, to the postseason routes that both teams have come here, you know, we have juggernauts with the Yankees and Dodgers surviving, you know, an onslaught, right, this offseason, this postseason. Tell me, who really has the better shot?
Well, let me show you some of the playoff stats that they've had so far. I mean, it has been an unbelievable path to the playoffs so far. So for the Dodgers, I mean, we have this very Halloween-esque Grim Reaper version because they have been absolutely killing these teams. They had an incredible first-round matchup, which was my personal favorite series in the World Series playoffs so far against the Padres. Fernando Tatis Jr., I mean, he was doing incredible. I'm not sure if many people saw, but there were parts where he was chirping back at fans that were trying to trash talk him, and he went ahead and hit a grand slam on them. So that was a fantastic series. They just barely edged out a win there. And then they played against New York Mets, who a lot of people were rooting for to make a Subway Series versus the Yankees, but the Dodgers took quick work of them, even after putting up a small little fight. And then for the Yankees have been making their way at a far easier pace than the Dodgers. But at the same time, I feel like they've played against a little bit easier teams, personally. They played against the Kansas City Royals, who was first time back in the playoffs in a while, but they have a lot of young talent. So I think it makes sense for them to get some playoff experience and mainly just improve on their general roster's experience and skill. And then for the Guardians, I didn't expect the Guardians to be here when the season began. But lo and behold, they're the #2 team in the AL, and the fact they took the Yankees to 5 games is pretty impressive. I mean, I was thinking a sweep, but good for them, honestly. I mean, it's a fantastic result for them. Now, let's look at 2 stars, or 1 star from each of the teams that everyone's been talking about in the news so far. Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. Now, Shohei had an incredible season. Everyone knows about it. They had 50-plus home runs, 50 stolen bases. His home run ball for 50 home runs actually got sold for $4.2 million recently. And so that netted someone a really huge payday. I mean, we'll see how that ends up. And so Shohei Ohtani, does he proceed to do this in the playoffs? Well, I mean, it's not as great. There's some like good aspects of it. His batting average has decreased from 310 to 286. His strikeout rate has absolutely gone completely sky high. It used to be around 18%. Now it's 40%. He's striking out 40% of the time. You're going as a fan, you're watching him swing at balls that aren't even close to the zone and just missing. I mean, but that's playoff ball, all right? That's playoff ball. And then his OPS is still really solid, though, because he's able to get on base through walks and driving up the pitch count, a lot of things like that. So he's been having not as great of a postseason as he had regular season, but still pretty solid. Now, on the other hand, Aaron Judge, he has not been doing as well. He had a league-leading OPS, 1.159. Incredible. That puts him top 50 all time. But then look at the postseason stats. A 161 average, he get cut from any team. And not to mention the strikeout rate higher than Ohtani's. Just when you thought you couldn't get any higher than that, I mean, we already thought he was a high enough player, 6'6", but he's still higher than Ohtani in terms of the strikeout rate. 42%. I mean, just wait till you see the World Series. You pay to watch these 2 guys, and then they go ahead and they strike out. Oh, and then when they're players like Giancarlo Stanton or Mookie Betts, he gets like a home run, and then that team wins. That's going to be most of the games in the World Series. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the teams, the Dodgers and the Yankees, are able to perform when their star players, their number one options, aren't doing as well as they have been.
So, now we broke it down. Tell me, one sentence. Who wins and how many games?
3 words, Dodgers in 6.
Dodgers in 6?
I think that the Dodgers are the better team. They've been playing against better teams and winning against them. They have a very deep roster. I mean, they have Mookie Betts. I think they have like 3 or 4 MVPs on their roster right now. They have Freddie Freeman. They have Mookie Betts, Max Muncy. Of course, this one guy named Shohei Ohtani that we've been talking about. And then, of course, their pitching has been doing great. They have Yamamoto, who's another great Japanese ball player. I mean, they've gotten the entire country of Japan on their side. I mean, this is what makes it a World Series, okay? I mean,
For sure. And, I think Dodgers in 7, and there's so much to look forward to in this battle of the juggernauts. But only one can take the crown. We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, Dan and Rami are going to break down the top plays.
Hello, everyone. Happy Halloween. I'm Rami Anash Jr.
And I'm Dan Salim. Let's jump right in.
Here we go. Top 10 plays at number 10. The first ever father-son duo in LeBron and Bronny James played against the Timberwolves in the season opener. Look at LeBron James slamming this, and it was just so cool for them to get on the court together.
And coming in at number 9, the Bengals' Charlie Jones returned to kickoff for a 100-yard return on the first play of the game versus the Browns. Watch that ability to weave through and make that impressive touchdown.
Look at the last-minute effort. Whew. Absolutely. Way to get over the pylon. That, I would not be able to do that. I think a few bones would be broken.
That's crazy.
That's insane. Coming in at number 8, this was one of my favorite throws I saw all weekend. Look at this beautiful seam throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown right in the bucket. He's been balling. Jared Goff has been balling. Let's throw him in the MVP conversation. As a Seahawks fan, they might win it.
And coming in at number 7, I was pretty happy when I saw this. Juan Soto's 3-run home run in the 10th inning sent the Yankees to the World Series. An impressive performance all around from the Yankees this postseason.
You think they're going to win the World Series?
I do.
An unbiased Yankees fan over here.
True.
Yeah, this is his unbiased take. When the Mets lost, he was like popping champagne. Coming in at number 6, Lamar doing Lamar things, getting around him, launching it deep, and he's got Rashad Bateman in the middle. The play's not over. He cuts back, and if he had blockers on his offense, he would have had a touchdown. If I'm blocking, he would have had a touchdown. But regardless, it's a great play. I mean, just look at this. This is crazy. He turns around.
Smooth.
Insane. Crazy speed.
And unfortunately, we can't bring up the Yankees without bringing up their biggest stop right now, the LA Dodgers, who also punched their ticket to the World Series. Whole teamwork here with Betts, Teoscar, and Kike Hernandez running up the score at the bottom of the 8th to 10, a historic home run count.
Absolutely.
Wow.
This is going to be probably, in my opinion, the most viewed World Series.
Absolutely.
Ever. This is going to set some records. This is a marquee matchup. Coming in at number 4, the reigning champions took care of business. Jason Tatum being a one-man team. Wait for it. On top of him. Let's go. The Celtics look really good. I know he's pissed about the Olympics. He wants another ring.
And coming in at number 3, Kyler Murray is making headlines for the Arizona Cardinals with his 44-yard rushing touchdown. You don't see that every day. Pretty smooth.
Super speedy. And he only had one defender on the end. They kind of blew it in coverage. But yeah, Kyler Murray, he's an interesting one. The Cardinals.
You don't hear much about him.
I know. He's good, though. Coming in at number 2, I was thankful enough to be at this game. Geno Smith to Jackson Smith and Jigba, who launches it to DK Metcalf. Yes, sir. He's going to haul that in over A.J. Terrell every single time. Look at this catch. Oh, my goodness. He is week to week, but he's a monster. And coming in at number 1, it's the Kings of the Jungles. The Lions defeated the Vikings in a 31-29 victory. Bring in
Watch
the
out, Jake
boom.
Bates. He brings the boom. Look at that.
Let's go.
Only 15 seconds left in the game.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
The Lions would end up going on to win that one, and that is going to wrap it up for our top 10 plays for this episode. Thank you so much for watching.
And for this month's Unstoppable, we'll see you next month.